Hello, fans and friends, gamers and lemons. This is the Zeez podcast. I don't have an official name for it yet because it's just episode 1. I've honestly thought about calling it Catching Zeez because it'll be the most boring podcast that'll put you to sleep. Anyways, hello. How are you all doing? I hope you're having a great day. I have with me one of my best friends, the little rookie. He's a very cool guy. I've done some videos with him in the past, and today we're going to be just kind of chilling, talking about YouTube, games, and whatever else. So, how about you introduce yourself, the little rookie?
Hi, I'm the little rookie. I used to make some YouTube videos back in the day. I also very, very famously, or maybe not famously, but Zeez and I did podcasts back in the day, so I thought it'd be really fitting to come on to be like the first guest for this Catching Zeez podcast. It's also kind of fitting because I just woke up from a nap, so I'm a little bit like sleepy.
A nap with Pokemon Sleep, perhaps?
Has Pokemon Sleep come out yet? Is it fully released? I
don't think so.
They said summer 2023.
Was that right? I forget.
Yeah, they said this summer. And then they said this summer like 5 years ago, so...
Yeah, honestly. I know you were really looking forward to Pokemon Sleep, considering like how much you value sleep and whatnot, but I can't believe they just ignored it for so long. And
I've gotten like no sleep since the Pokemon Sleep announcement has gone out, which is insane.
The second it comes out, it's like, I am a new man. I can finally sleep.
I'm a new man. All of that like bad habits and stuff is completely overwritten. We are totally good to just clonk out at like 10 p.m.
Perfect. Now, I wanted to kind of talk about YouTube to start things off with, because obviously that's what I do. I do YouTube. And I wanted to discuss sort of the things that we used to watch sort of in the past when we grew up with YouTube, because I grew up with YouTube like all the time. That was like my main thing that I would do is YouTube and video games. Like that was like my two biggest crutches growing up. I would always play games, watch YouTube, and most of the time I would do it at the exact same time. And that was what I did a lot growing up, and I feel like I got a lot of my characteristics and morals and learned lots of lessons from the people that I watched. And then comparing it to nowadays, I just feel like it's a lot different. It's a very different space. So I'm going to talk about that starting with. So let's see. I think back in the day, if I'm talking about like 2009, 2010, 2011. That was probably like when I first started getting access to YouTube online. And a lot of the stuff I watched was just gaming content related. Because that was around the age when I started getting into video games. And I had a lot of fun just like randomly clicking on stupid videos. But I think it was in my early teen years when I really started realizing that this is like something that I could make a career out of. I used to watch a lot of Let's Plays on YouTube, which I still consider myself to be like primarily a Let's Player on YouTube, even though I have been doing other content here and there. But I really liked watching Maryland, who is a classic Pokemon YouTuber. He really is. And it was just... I was watching some of his old videos, and it just kind of took me down like a trip down memory lane. I used to watch a lot of Shady Penguin too, and I think those two really kind of defined what I did when I first started YouTube, where I was like starting to make lots of Let's Play videos about certain games that I wanted to play. And those two are like probably two of my biggest inspirations early on, like learning that I wanted to be a YouTuber. And there are still things that they have done that I kind of want to implement into my content going in the future. But what about you? What were your early days of YouTube?
So, I mean, I think it's a very fascinating thing that you mentioned Maryland, because back in the day, I was like, when I was first getting into YouTube, kind of sort of like a gateway drug. Essentially, it was like I was at the library reading the Zelda manga, or like the Zelda comics that were like localized by Viz, the Viz
Those
company.
Are so good. I love the Four Swords one.
Exactly. They're all really good. The one that I was really into was the one called The Legend of Zelda Minish Cap.
Yes, the Minish Cap, dude.
The Minish Cap
man.
is I will admit to you that it is one of the like cutest art styles, you know, definitely one of the cutest Zelda games out there, because it's about Link getting to know this like talking cap that's like a kind of like, it has like a duck / bird like qualities. And
his name is like Elzo, right?
I think it's Elzo or something.
Yeah, I think it's Elzo.
Well, I was reading the comic, and the foreword in the beginning of the comic says that this is based off of the game Minish Cap, and I was like, "Holy, there's a game!" And so I went online. You know, YouTube was beginning at the time, so Let's Plays really flourished because back then the algorithm wasn't so like, you know, defined towards like fast
Mr.
food
Beast.
content creation. yeah, exactly. And I think it was an interesting time because Let's Plays did rule the online web, where it was like they were like the long form content for a very long time.
Yeah, even like YouTubers like Markiplier and Jacksepticeye got their rise and through stuff like that
in Let's Play. Yeah. And so I went on and watched a Let's Play of the Minish Cap, and then eventually went on to watch Maryland and some early YouTubers. Like there was one called Super Skarmory back in the day. And that was really nice because when things weren't always great in my life, you know, I would always go on YouTube and like have some kind of stability, where it was like, you know, there's some like older people that I can kind of look up to that are having, you know, their fun time playing these games. And so it was really nice to be able to have that kind of creativity / ingenuity there.
Oh yeah, it's definitely like an escapism thing, especially like at a younger age, because like sometimes when you're younger, you do all these like things, you play outside, you do all these games, and sometimes you're just bored and you're like, what do I do? You don't want to watch any of the movies that you've watched over and over again. You don't want to play any of the games that you've played over and over again. Let's watch some YouTube. Let's see what other people are playing, you know?
I think it's like also one of those things where it's like when I was younger, I didn't really have the money to buy video games, and my parents were pretty strict about that. So I would always get like this tertiary happiness from, you know, watching other people play games and have fun. And I think that's why like I think to me YouTubing is like content creation. I have a lot of fun when I'm making content that is like, you know, videos of my own stuff that doesn't take as much time to like record, or like I guess it wouldn't take a lot of time to edit, because a lot of the things that I grew up watching were Let's Plays, and I get a lot of fun watching other people play video games, which is why like I technically don't play as many like long form story games as many Let's Players do. Yeah, there's a thought there. Maybe it's not completely digested, but
no, I think it's cool that you mentioned that, because when you don't have a game, it's really cool to like watch somebody else play it, but it's also something where it gives like that sense of community or a friend that, even though obviously there's like the whole situation between like fans versus a creator, and like there's supposed to be like a healthy distance between the two, but
yes,
it was always so cool like waking up and seeing your favorite YouTuber post a new video. For example, Shady Penguin, he had this motto back in the day, like 7 years ago, in like 2015. I guess that'd be 8 years ago. He would say, 2 videos a day coming your way. That is what I say now today. And that was like his sort of slogan. He would make 2 videos a day, and he would always post one like right before I got off school. So once I got off school, I would go home and I would do my homework while watching a Shady Penguin video. I'd finish up my homework, and then I'd wait for the next one to come out while playing Pokemon alongside it. And it was the best, dude. Those were the days. That was like the entirety of like a couple of my school years. But it literally just felt like, you know, when you don't have too many friends, which I didn't growing up. I don't know too much about you because we kind of met like a little later in life. But in my middle school days, I hardly had any friends. You know, I did do Boy Scouts, which eventually led to me getting more friends and connecting with more people. But during those early ages, I think throughout the entirety of 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, I had like no friends. And getting to watch these videos was like, wow, these people enjoy the same stuff that I do. And it kind of felt like that connection, because previously I had maybe like a couple people, like my sister and maybe like one other person to talk to about Pokemon or Zelda, but seeing all these other people playing it online and seeing how they shared the same sort of sentiment, it was just so cool. And what I really like about like the Let's Play format, as opposed to like content nowadays where you see like people being an entire game in like 20 minutes, it's like they take, you know, so many hours of footage and they do like a challenge run and it's all compiled in this neatly edited 20-minute video, and it's like, wow, you did the entire game and all the challenges and you fit it into one 20-minute video, which is like really cool, really good content.
Yeah.
But back in the day, it felt so down to earth when it was just, here we go, let's just play some games. Not too many cuts, maybe just you know, a few edits here and there just to like, you know, make the pacing of it a bit better. But it was mostly just like raw footage and just the person on the other end talking to themselves in the camera, speaking directly to their audience. And it felt like this, it was like a really special connection that Let's Players have with their audience. And it just felt very down to earth, which is like something that you don't really see too much nowadays in content.
Yeah, I think part of that is what, you know, with the rise of the algorithm and stuff, and like I think definitely things have like changed drastically since 2016 for sure. Because there were definitely still some Let's Players like, you know, dwindling on the edges and back in 2012 for sure. That being said, it's like it's definitely YouTube has sort of is it weird to say TikTok-ized a little bit? It's like they push sensationalized content to the front of the 4-page, and it's like. And, you know, nowadays, like, in order to get people to click on your video, it requires a really good thumbnail. So it requires both, like, really quality content as well as a good thumbnail. And, you know, that kind of, it's like, Let's Plays have kind of died off, mainly because of, like, the change in the YouTube, like, I guess, mindset and algorithm, which is, like, I definitely don't envy your position, because being a YouTuber is kind of tough. You have to like learn to ride the waves a little bit, or carve out a little place in the space to be your own. And that's a lot harder than it looks, for sure.
Yeah, I think there definitely is difficulties that come with the job that you don't really see in any other field, where you constantly have to be adapting to like YouTube's new thing, and those who do not adapt are the ones who get left behind. For example, I was doing Let's Play content for like 3-4 years on YouTube. And my second channel, when I started talking about like cartoons that were popular, that started getting a lot more numbers since I was following a trend. And it has like 80K subscribers now, which is really cool. And I'm very grateful for that. But that was all work within like a year. And then I look back to like my 3 years of doing Let's Plays, and it kind of just makes me a little sad that there was hardly any traction when I did them, because I like to think, right? I like to think that if I were to have done all these types of Let's Plays, but YouTube was how it was like 10 years ago, I would have, you know, gotten a certain amount of traction, subscribers, something. But
oh, for sure.
The algorithm just doesn't favor that anymore. And that's what's really sad, because I always wanted to make the type of Let's Play content, because that's the kind of content I grew up on, but YouTube doesn't like that anymore. So it's a bit sad that that's the case, because I kind of have to not do the content that I grew up watching, and that's just depressing in some ways.
I like completely understand that, because when I was younger, you know, it's like that long form kind of content was like the thing that kept me, you know, it kept me a little bit, you know, interested, and definitely like grew that sense of wonder inside of myself. But I think about it like this, right? I definitely believe that if you had had that kind of Let's Play channel about 10 years ago, you would have definitely flourished. That's because like YouTube's algorithm wasn't that refined. It wasn't that sensationalized. People were looking at like mom and pop like homegrown videos. That's a weird thing to say. Homegrown videos where it's like yeah, there's a sense of personality here with a YouTuber that that is not like sensationalized like a celebrity would, and it's like there's that down to earth kind of feel. I also feel like that Let's Play content has not necessarily gone away, so to say. It's just that it has moved over to the streaming space.
Absolutely,
which is like,
yeah.
Which is like it's sort of evolved in the sense that you don't get the, hey guys, I'm Chugga Conroy here with part 3 of like Xenoblade Chronicles. It's more like people want to be there when you're playing that game so that they can talk to you and have that kind of like personal touch. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, I think.
No, I think it's definitely just like its own thing. Streaming has definitely it is definitely like what Let's Plays, they kind of evolved into being there with the streamer. And I think doing streams versus Let's Plays, they both have their advantages.
For sure.
For example, like I think when I was doing my White 2 Nuzlocke, I think that was such a fun thing to stream because I could name some of the Pokemon after my viewers. They could see live when my Pokemon were dying or like when I was in a tense situation. It was really fun. It was so fun. But a game
that Lapras Perish song thing was, oh god, that was so sad.
Don't remind me of the Lapras
that
Perish
so
song.
Sad.
My freaking Stoutland, bro.
I'm more of I think like when it comes to Let's Plays, I'm definitely more of a consumer for sure. Because like I love watching people play. I'm not as good in terms of being able to commentate over my own like Let's Plays for sure. Because I just run out of things to talk about. I'll just be like, all right, so I think you know this the best. Where I tried to do a Fire Emblem Conquest video. Let's Play a long time ago, and I just wasn't happy with the results because, well, number one, it wasn't getting a lot of traction because YouTube is moved over to sensationalized content. But the other thing was that it wasn't very good because I would go onto episode 2 and be like, all right, guys, Corrin is, all right, he did I'm Corrin, and then it's like nobody wants to watch that, right? I mean, I guess one person would want to watch that, but
yeah, and I think another thing is that like when your quality is much less than somebody else's, it gives you like this immense sense of imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
I don't know if you felt something like that,
like anxiety.
I feel that. I think if there's anything I struggle with YouTube, it is 100% like imposter syndrome, especially with my second channel, because I look at the content on my second channel and I know that channel only like got popular because of a trend. And I was recently trying to film a video about the new Spider-Verse movie. And I have recorded that video 3 different times, and I still hate it. Because I was watching some other people's reviews, and they like dig in so deep to like the animation industry and like comparing it to other films. And I'm just like here giving my very casual, basic guy off the street opinion. And it's just like, oh man, who wants to watch this guy when you could watch this guy? Like, what do I have to bring to the table? And that's something that I still struggle with today.
Yeah. I think it's like one of those things where you have to eventually like not get into your head so much about it. Where it's like,
right.
If you want like, if you're going for like really, really like theoretical, philosophical things about like certain like media out there, I know they were back in the anime space, which was something that I used to watch back in the day, which was a lot of like anime like hard reviews where it was just like, you see the philosophy of this person having a sword and going the attack here is that like there's a huge arc and stuff, and it's like it builds in beautifully. But I picture the everyday man who wants to watch this kind of content. I imagine like people like Arlo, who are just like, this is what I want to see, and that's because this is like my personal opinion. And I think people still really value having those people who are true to themselves, and
right.
Like while they it's like, again, you're gonna have your own unique style, and there's definitely an audience out there for that. And so like, yeah, it's kind of similar to streaming, where it's like people are there for you, not the games that you play, and also for the games, but your personality is the thing it's the constant that stays the same no matter what video you make. And so
right.
if you're not a nice guy, If you're not a kind person, then nobody's gonna stick with your videos. But I mean, clearly, like you've gotten a fair amount of success. So I think there's a for sure, like your personality is definitely fit for the platform.
Right. I do think that there's like an argument to be made there. However, there is still like the cases of, you know, YouTube algorithm and specific audiences, at least like for me specifically, but like lots of other people, because getting an audience to care about you as a creator as opposed to the things that you create is, I think, one of the most difficult things on the platform. However, if you're able to do it, then that's it. You're successful, because then no matter what you do, people are going to watch you. For example, streamers who are very eccentric or loud or like hype mans, they tend to get lots of viewers. I'm not going to name any names specifically, but you know, there are some very eccentric streamers out there that are just loud equals funny, or just I don't know how to describe it, and they get so many viewers despite whatever they're doing.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it definitely is frustrating. Although I will tell you this much: it's on the topic of Let's Plays for sure. I'm definitely like kind of maybe not happy but relieved to say that in some aspects, you know, Let's Plays are somewhat still alive, where long form video game playing content still exists.
Yes.
I actually
wanted to talk about
on the
that,
platform, which is like it doesn't exist as the YouTube videos that you and I used to watch as kids, but it exists as the VODs that we get to watch after a stream has ended, or during a stream when we get to talk to those people. It's like, I think nowadays, if you want to be a Let's Player in the traditional sense, the avenue has not completely closed off because YouTube has, you know, neglected it. The avenue has only changed, and it's you know, there's definitely a lot you need to talk about there, where it's like you can't just start out a Twitch stream and get like 100 viewers, which 100 viewers is like top, like the top couple of percent. It's like you have to nowadays. My friend was telling me this, where it's like you should start out like a YouTube channel, and then once you've gained a following of some sorts, then you can plug your Twitch, and then you'll have a base audience that you can start to build off of. Which I think that's something that you have, and that you're in a position where you could probably leverage.
Yeah, there's that to an extent. Going back to what you said about like the long form sort of content when it comes to Let's Plays and whatnot. Yeah, Let's Plays are not like completely dead, but like when we're talking about like classic Let's Plays, those are kind of they've buried the hatchet on that. For example, I think one outlier that still kind of exists is Chugga Conroy. He structures his channel really well by playing a single game, and he does it for like a month. So like the YouTube algorithm will really like that, where it's like, here we go, he goes through set phases. Whereas like he can upload that type of variety content because he goes through like different phases of his channel, and because his base audience has just come to know him as like, I think he's like the classic Let's Play YouTuber, and it feels like he's like one of the only outliers where he's able to keep on making that type of content. Whereas opposed to that, you have like Markiplier and Jacksepticeye, where, you know, they would do however long Let's Plays in the past. I don't know how long they were, 20, 30 minutes.
Like highlight reels, right?
But you'll see them play like a game, but you'll see the video is like 2 hours long, 3 hours long. Because you know how, let's say, for example, you have Five Nights at Freddy's Part 1, Five Nights at Freddy's Part 2, like for a Markiplier video. It does like, this is night 1, this is night 2, this is night 3. What works better in the algorithm nowadays is not playing all 5 nights in 5 different episodes. No, is to have just the entirety of the game in one video. Because if the video bombs, who cares? It's just one video. But like, if 5 videos bomb, that's 5 videos in a row, dude. That's 5 days, or however long, how many videos you're uploading that day. That's 5 videos that bomb. But, you know, if you have like a 1 or like a 2 hour long Five Nights at Freddy's, the full game Let's Play, it's all right there. You know, they can just skip around, see what they want to watch, because let's play reviewers do tend to skip around a lot for the best moments.
Sure.
I personally don't really like doing that. I love getting the full experience, but there are times when I've done that, especially on rewatch. I think on rewatch I'll skip around, but first time I'm not really somebody who tends to skip around. But they'll upload those really long videos like that because it just works better in the algorithm at the end of the day.
I think it's also that, it's like kind of the wish of people these days. It's like sort of their wish to have like kind of like a Spark Notes version of the fun and joy that's brought about by like the videos. And it's not that these videos aren't bad, aren't good, or that they won't enable like further viewing, because like sometimes I'll see a clip, like a Twitch clip or like a YouTube clip, and I'll be like, that was really fun. I want to know the context behind this. So then I'll go back and watch.
That's why you see so many YouTubers that have clips channels nowadays.
Exactly, yeah. So then I want to go and watch the longer form content so I can understand the proper context behind it. And I guess that kind of like builds into like a point that I sort of wanted to bring up, but it's more just like a side point. I watch a lot of Dungeons and Dragons videos these days.
Those are typically quite long, right?
Those are typically quite long, which is and it's typically quite long, and also it's somewhat gotten like a resurgence recently in like the content creation space, because there's a lot of like actors and voice actors and improvisating actors that have recently gotten to the space of D&D. And so you get these like really high quality like actors who are able to use their actual like real life acting skills and like apply them to something that is like basically just a tabletop game. And the clips that come out of those, sometimes like those fantastical like scenarios that could never happen in the real world do happen in the game, and then you're stuck wondering like, this is really interesting. And then you go and watch the entire session or the entire episode, and that tends to
see
work
like what
out
led
quite
up to
well.
that moment.
Yeah, it tends to work out quite well for like the Twitch algorithm and the YouTube algorithm, or at least YouTube.
That's actually really cool. I didn't know too much about that, but like that definitely seems really cool, as long as you have like the right people and they all have good chemistry with each other and they all bring their own talents to the table. That's actually really cool.
It's like one of the.
I kind of want to bring something up like that a little bit later, but we'll keep that for later.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those few places in the algorithm where there's been like a almost unchanging in the sea of the space, which is like the long form D&D content is like one of those things that still cuts through, which is like it's a really interesting phenomenon, and I don't think it exists like quite nearly to that kind of like degree in any other like category. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing to think about.
For sure, yeah. I didn't even really know. I like knew of that content, knew that it existed, but I haven't really like looked into it too much. I've played D&D, I know, with you and a couple other groups a few times before, mainly with you and a couple of our other friends. But I never like got super into it, but I can definitely see like the appeal there. Like that definitely sounds like a fun time, especially because it feels like, for some people who maybe can't get a group of friends to play D&D with, they watch these people and they're like, oh man, it feels like I'm right there with them sometimes.
It's also like it's also it's like kind of like that parasocial relationship kind of thing, where it's like you get really attached to these characters that they play, and you get really attached to the kind of arcs that they have, and you cry when they cry. Yeah. You have a lot of fear when they're fear. They have a lot of like fear. I definitely think it's like with Dungeons and Dragons, you have to be really careful, because it's like you have to have you have to have good players and a good dungeon master. Both are completely crucial, because the dungeon master can work really hard to like set up like plot hooks and like story, but if the players just go off in like a completely different direction, it's like everyone has to work together on like a collaboration kind of thing.
Oh, for sure.
And so that's why I think there's an immense appeal to that.
Oh yeah, I definitely think, and like the I'm not really sure what the right word is. I guess the improv storytelling would be the right word.
Yeah,
it is like the best way to put it. It's definitely a really cool concept.
But yeah, going back into your point in terms of like the Let's Plays and stuff, and how it's like evolved, and like how people like to watch summary videos these days. Gaming as a whole has definitely evolved. I know, like, when you and I were 10 years old, we were watching, Pokemon Let's Plays like an hour a day because they would upload them basically every single day. And I'd be like excited to watch the next episode when it comes out because I know that they would upload almost at the exact same time every single day.
Yep.
And I would go there and I'd watch it. And it's like, it's right on time, it's 5 p.m. I'm going to watch it and I know it's going to be there. And because that's how YouTube worked back in the day, because it's like they really wanted like a structured upload schedule kind of thing. But
exactly, it was like tuning into your favorite show at a certain time, except it was made by a single person. Like that concept that to this day even is just so cool to me.
It's so homey and like nice.
Right, it really is.
YouTube nowadays, of course, has completely changed. There's like less of a routine and discipline to it, and more like the sensationalized content where it's like you have to fight for space on the front page in order to be able to be seen.
There's a lot more competition, editing, and like your thumbnail and your title, obviously like the two most important things.
Of course,
but like the viewer retention also matters a lot. So you have to have really good editing nowadays. And I am a bit mixed when it comes to like highly edited videos because they look great. I was actually watching one before we started this podcast, and it was really, really well made. And I was like, wow, that was so good. But I want to know like what else. For example, if we're talking about the tip of the top or the top of the top, Mr. Beast. He will put in so much effort for like an 8-minute video, and it's like, dude, you could have made this video like a movie, or like you could have made like, how like YouTubers in the past would do like behind the scenes of this. There could be a behind the scene. There could be like 8 freaking behind the scenes videos for every Mr. Beast video, and like I would watch them all. It's crazy. Like you see, for example, I think he like set up a maze or something in one of his videos, and it's like there was this whole like labyrinth or whatever that somebody built, and you know how long it was? Like in the video, it took up like 8 seconds, and it was like this person worked like hours and hours on this one room, and then it's like, nope, it's only a video for 8 seconds, and it's like, that's it. Dude, I would have milked the heck out of that room if I spent that much time making it. But like, Mr. Beast has got so many people working for him nowadays, and that's the thing. It's like the longer and longer you work on a specific video, the higher its quality goes. And I think quality over quantity has taken up the YouTube space, which probably is a good thing. But if you think about like in the past, it was all about quantity, right? It didn't really matter too much as long as you had your daily vlog, your daily video, your daily gaming episode out. That was what tickled the algorithm's fancy. Nowadays, a YouTuber can upload once every month, but as long as the video is like super well edited, has high viewer retention, a good thumbnail and title, and is of high quality, people are going to probably watch the whole thing, or at least the majority of it, and be like, heck yeah, dude, I like that video. And then you don't have to upload another one for like another month. And that's like kind of how it works nowadays. But then of course you also have your corporation style content, which corp content, bro. And then of course there's YouTube Shorts / TikToks, which those are
one is a little bit like
those are my least favorite type of content on the platform.
For sure.
I'd like to hear your thoughts before I go into mine.
No, I'm not big on shorts. Of course, like, because shorts are basically the TikTok style like content, and then when TikTok became super popular, we got Instagram Reels, and we got like Facebook Shorts, and we got YouTube Shorts. Like, it's like game sees game. Like the company knows that short form content is popular, and so we created one, and also we created one, and also we created one, and so
exactly. Like everybody wanted to be TikTok.
The cycle, but it's like,
and it was Vine before that.
Yeah, again, it's like one of those things where it's like the ever-changing landscape, the adaptation that is required of animals of prey out here in the wild, back in the YouTube space.
There was even Musically too. I forgot about that one. That was only up for like a year or two, right?
Yeah.
That was like a hybrid TikTok Vine, and then TikTok is just like its whole thing now.
Then Vine, like the Vine invasion back in 2016 was like, that's when things started to become that like definitely more did change sensationalized, the YouTube landscape
for
sure. Yeah, not too big of a fan. Of course, like nowadays, like when I go on the YouTube space and occasionally I'll see like a clip of like that like D&D podcast that I was talking to you about, and it's like, yeah, okay, fine, like you got me there. Like I kind of want to see that. But aside from those, I tend to avoid like all the really like high produced like check out what this person does, and then they do the thing and you're like, oh my god, it's like follow me for more kind of thing.
Yeah, those are those like bite-sized content that like,
yeah,
I if I had to, I don't want to like insult people, but I feel like YouTube Shorts is, well, I'm not okay. I think it's good, but it's also, I think there is a place for it, right? But it is also like sort of lowest common denominator type of content, because like
I don't disagree with you. I think
because sometimes anybody can understand it, but I don't use TikTok, right? But I have installed it multiple times to kind of see what the app's all about, see what kind of phase it goes through. And I was doing it like a couple weeks ago. It's already off my phone, but I was like scrolling through TikTok, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just kind of see what's up. And I found myself skipping through so many things. There is so much garbage content, bro.
There's so much bloat, I will say.
There's a lot of much garbage content and so many people copying off each other, which happens a lot on the YouTube. But like, I think I've seen so many double it or give it to the next person videos that it's just like I can't even tell. Is it by the same guy? Is it made by like 1,000 different people? I don't know, man.
Yeah, that's why like maybe this is a product of me, growing up with the older YouTube. Maybe that's why I'm more drawn to like podcast / Twitch / like D&D content, is because it's like it's slower in a sense than the very very high pace of like Mr. Beast videos. Because like if Mr. Beast, like his bottom line is like he has to create a video that is sensational. If there's even like a pause in there, then it's like it doesn't break kind of thing.
Yeah, and just a quick aside, I actually used to watch Mr. Beast in the past, back when he had like 80K subscribers. Kind of funny. Back when he was doing like YouTube, like worst intro videos, and he was making jokes about Bleach. Yeah. And he used to be able to do like these rock paper scissors challenges at the end of the video. I used to watch him back then, funnily enough. And then like when he started popping off, I was like, hey, it's that one guy I watched every now and then.
And
just
kind of it's like
aside.
And now he's like the big one, so to say.
Yeah, he's like the top creator on YouTube, which I mean, deserved, of course. He's a great creator.
It's definitely one of those things where it's like, and you mentioned that like the main topic that we're discussing for this podcast is like what we watch these days. There's a part of me there's a part of me that I've like kind of protected, which is like the 10-year-old version of me that is kind of like inside of my soul, which is just like, it is a little bit like metaphysical or something, but it's like there's the 10-year-old version of me that I've kind of like protected from like the modern day YouTube.
For the record, everybody, we are in our early 20s.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So I'm not a 10-year-old, by the way. I just want to put that out there. But it's like the 10-year-old version of me that I protect against like the YouTube content that is around these days, which is like when I go on YouTube and see like sensationalized content on the front page, I tend to completely avoid it and instead like watch videos from creators that I'm like intimately aware of.
Right.
And so it's
I think a lot of people do that as well. I think for me, I'm a bit of a hybrid, because as a YouTuber, I like to go out and see what kind of content is like at the top, at the peak. And I can't deny that it's good content, right? It is good content.
It is good content for sure.
But a piece of me, I think call it nostalgia
dies
or whatever.
A little bit.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit. Every time like I watch a Mr. Beast video, because it's like, well, man, look what he's doing, and look, here's Tears of the Kingdom, episode 40, guys. You ready?
Yeah.
Today we're gonna be doing only side quests, no main story. How long is the video? 50 minutes. It's like you could go watch somebody freaking speedrun the game in 30 minutes, or you could go watch, I don't know, top creator with like 3 million subscribers. I beat the entire Tears of the Kingdom without using any weapons, bows, or shields, and it's like,
that's the challenge thing, right?
What?
The resurgence,
man,
the surgence of challenges in the gaming space, which I think was like kicked off by Nuzlocke.
Dude, the Nuzlocke content is crazy with it.
Yeah, it definitely kicked off with Jaden Animations for sure. Like, she basically she basically kicked off the storm of like gameplay challenges becoming also like sensationalized in the YouTube space. Or just like
I think they already were, but like I think because Jane Animations had like a very generalized, I don't say generalized audience, but like she had a much more broad audience compared to like just focused on Pokemon. So like when she like opened up that sort of gaming challenge thing and like how she started collaborating with other creators, I'm sure that brought it into the sphere. But like Nuzlocke are crazy with it, but like I feel like you can't just get away with Nuzlocke nowadays. Right. You have to add on a new challenge, or like you have to do this specifically or this specifically, and it's just, I think that is that competition to always like one up each other is good because it leads to innovation. However, I think it's increasingly leading to more creators being burnt out from constantly having to come up with new ideas and level up the playing field. And for somebody like me, I am a solo act with 5 channels. I have no editors. I've edited every single video myself. It gets a little tough sometimes when you're competing against, you know, the people who are funnier than you, who have like 3 editors working for them, who can invest all the resources where I spend time editing into other things. And it's just because it's a whole thing. Like I could maybe like have some editors come on board to like help me with content. However, I feel like the second I do that, I feel like a part of my setup or my channels will just die. And maybe that's just me being stubborn, but like if I had somebody else edit my Let's Plays, not only would I get secondhand embarrassment because I have to like cut out so many little things of like mistakes that I make in those Let's Plays, but I feel like a part of it would just not feel me, I guess. Like it's YouTube, and I've always kind of put emphasis on the you, but you know, more and more it's become, hi guys, it's me, creator with 3 editors. Or hi guys, it's me, corporation with 50 people working for us. You, creator, 1 guy in your bedroom? Look at the limited resources you have, fool. It's like if you don't have a really standout personality, the competition just is going to steamroll you. And it just becomes like the whole Burnout thing just becomes even more difficult and more difficult, especially when you're looking at going into different avenues. If you stretch yourself too thin, then all the content is just going to be so generalized, and it's just jack of all trades, master of nothing. Whereas Mr. Beast is constantly, making banger after banger after banger, inspiring generations of people to become YouTubers that will.
I think it's like one of those things you gotta. It's like it's one of those things where it's like doing it alone is for sure it's like for sure the hardest thing to do in the world, because like when you have a professional editor who knows how to do their thing, and they've been doing it for quite a while, like you get to be able to. It's like saving your bandwidth, right? You only have a set amount of bandwidth. You only have a set amount of RAM, and like the moment that becomes like completely like overtaxed, it's like it's also the thing about focus, where it's like I'm betting you that Mr. Beast only focuses on making his videos, and that's why he's like kind of like offloaded his. I think most like high-end YouTubers, or like super high in like the algorithm, have offloaded most of their editing content because they want to put all of their focus and all of their time into making sure that their videos, like the video idea and concepts, are good. And so that way, with the editors can deal with that. But it's also like there are definitely there. It's like one of those things where it's like it's an incredibly hard thing to do, and I would definitely not recommend anyone to do this. But if you are a good enough editor, and it doesn't mean that you have to be the best editor in the world, if you are a good enough editor, you can actually still be pretty good in this space. The one person that I think about when I think about this is I don't know if you've watched this guy. It's the Abroad in Japan channel.
I can't say that I have.
Yeah, there's a guy on YouTube. His name is Chris Broad. The joke is basically he's called Abroad in Japan. And so it's like his last name is in the title. So all of his videos, or like at least most of his videos, were edited by him. And what type of content does he make? Like gaming or anime? He makes it's like vlogging kind of videos where he like showcases Japan and does it in a really like high quality like documentary style. But all the camera equipment, Yeah, you should definitely go watch him. I think you would really enjoy it. Japan is really cool. He shoots all of his videos with his own cameras, and then he edits it all on his MacBook. And the end result is really still like, it's really like high quality documentary stuff. And the quantity of the video is only like 20 minutes or 30 minutes, where he'll go to like a certain location in Japan, like Shinjuku or Tokyo, and he'll showcase something like the cafes there, or like the food. The food is like the one big thing that catches everyone's attention.
Oh, right, because they do like really presentable food in Japan.
But his setup is quite bare bones, and I think the reason that he's able to do it is because the space that he's in is undominated. He's the only British guy in Japan. Well, he's not the only. He's the biggest one, but who's been doing this for the longest. Right. But also he's also editing off of like a MacBook with like high quality production value, using all his only cameras. I guess the thing that I was trying to say before is that he kind of reminds me a little bit of your setup, where it's like he edits his own videos and he shoots his own videos using his camera. And maybe the only alteration is that he would hire a camera person so that, you know, they can follow him around when he shows off a place. But he edits all of his own videos because it's like, that's my style, and it's like, it doesn't feel like my video if someone else edits it.
Exactly, dude. That's exactly what I feel. I think there's also just a sense of pride that kind of comes with editing at least my own videos. Yeah. Like,
I think, however, if you're like getting burned out by it, it's like maybe you need to like bring down the bandwidth a little bit, you know?
No, for sure. I think that actually, you say that, and that actually kind of just happened. I was doing my Tears of the Kingdom Let's Play, and I'm still doing it. I'm only like, I think 25% of the game, maybe. Yeah. And I was doing 2 videos a day, and I was noticing that, like, okay, well, recording takes about an hour and a half per episode. I edit it down to like 40 minutes to an hour, and that entirety, like that entirety, like all the editing, and then I had to make the thumbnails. I have to put all the timestamps because I timestamp all my Let's Plays so you can know exactly what I'm doing at exactly every time, and then I like make a good title or whatever. And like doing all of that takes up around an average of 8 hours. So if I'm Jesus awake Christ. For 18 hours in a day, I have 8 hours completely sucked away by that Let's Play. And that's like, you know, with pretty consistent working. And then I have 10 hours left, and it's like, okay, well, now I want to kind of relax for like an hour because I've just been working for 8 hours on Let's Plays. And then I go to like film some other things, then I realize, okay, well, now I have to do more work to do something else. For example, I was doing some research on Across the Spider-Verse a little while ago because I was like, okay, I want to make this Across the Spider-Verse video better, because if I just talk about, you know, having no knowledge about it, I feel like that's just going to be a little lacking. Like, I didn't even remember some of the characters' names. I was like, at least I gotta remember their names at least. I had to like go into that. I wanted to see like kind of like what actors are behind things. And I was doing all that research for like an hour, and then I got distracted looking at other things, and it's a whole thing. So then I'm like wasting time, and then I had to make some graphics for some other things, and like by the time I know it, it's like I have just a few hours left in the day, and that's like, well, now I have to do all this stuff in my personal life. It's just, it can get hectic sometimes. Then I was like, okay, I need to not spend 8 hours a day working on these Let's Plays, so I dropped down to 1 video for Tears of the Kingdom every day, and I might still have a double upload here and there, but like I realized that I can no longer do like double uploads like how I did in the past, because when I did double uploads, you know, back in like 2018, 2019, I sometimes even uploaded 3 videos, but that was because that was my only channel. But now I'm managing 4 others, one of them which I barely even upload on, and I've been like doing a lot of stuff in the background, working on a massive project for the second video, a whole art contest with 1,500 entries, which is a whole lot to manage. And yeah, it becomes a little tricky when you're a solo act, but I think like what I'm trying to say is all of that work that I do into these channels is very rewarding, I guess, even if the payoff isn't much, because I can look back at every single title and thumbnail that I have created, every single video, and I can be like, I made that. That was all me. And even though if it's not like the best thing, there's evidence of it existing, and people have watched it, and some people have enjoyed it. And I think that is like what is so cool at the end of the day. And that's why like Let's Play content is, I feel like, I don't know, it just feels the best, because I can just sit there, play a game, edit out all the boring moments, edit out all the loading screens, all that stuff. And that's just me playing a game. And it's like, that's it. It's so simple and so down to earth. I just love it. I don't know. I kind of went on a bit of a rant there, but I
okay.
like YouTube. It's my biggest passion. And although I have many, many, many other interests, YouTube is definitely just, I'm obsessed with it. You know, I'm always thinking about it without a doubt. Every day I wake up and I think about YouTube, whether it be making videos or watching videos. I don't think the day has passed where I haven't thought about what YouTube video to make next. And I think that's just, I don't know, that's just kind of become my life recently. Sorry for the tangent there.
No, I think it's totally okay to, you know, think about YouTube all the time, because I mean, it's like literally it's your job, and it's like for YouTubers, it's like, I think it's definitely one of those hard things where it's like you don't really get a chance to be able to separate from your workplace, where it's like, you know, when you go to work, you have your standardized workplace where you go and do work, but you know, for YouTube, work is your life essentially, and it's like in your house, it's like in your home, in your head, like all the time, and so there's like a very poor like separation of space there.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like with YouTube and with life, it's also like, it's like one of those things where it's like you have to learn to prioritize and to be able to not be so hard on yourself when things go wrong, kind of thing.
For sure. I like that you said, you know, it's kind of like always in the same space.
It's always
where, like,
on,
you have your work, where you have your work environment and like your personal environment. For me, it's the exact same thing, because for me, I can't like afford a house. I've heard YouTubers say like, hey, here's a good idea to not get burned out. Have 2 separate spaces, one for your content and then one for your personal life. Like have your bedroom be your bedroom, and then have a separate room for your content creation, like an office. And I was like, oh, that would be a good idea. Unfortunately, I live in a 2-bedroom apartment with my sister. I have no other rooms. This is it. I can't rent out anything. I don't have the money. I just have my bedroom. That is it. I could sleep out in the living room, but I don't want to.
It's definitely like one of those things where it's like you're kind of living life on hard mode. And
I don't want to say hard mode, because it's not like I've
on a more difficult, challenging kind of thing.
I think it's more creatively challenging more than it is like. Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to say it's because like everything has its hardships, but I don't have many physical hardships with this job. My mental hardships aren't like anything, you know, to write home about. It's the creative hardships is what this job has. Yeah. Like every single thing has its own hardships, but it's definitely like the creative one is like the most one. I think a lot of that comes through like a lot of willpower as well, to trying to just tell yourself to push on through it. Like, okay, let me just finish editing this video, then I can do this. A lot of times I'll get that so often where it's just like, okay, I need to finish this video before I do this. It's like I'll see something and I'm like, oh, I want to do that, but I can't do that until I finish this video. One thing that I have a really bad problem of doing is I force myself to make sure a video is rendering. Like, for example, when I finish editing a video, I have to render a video. And usually my videos, on average, depending on how long they take, 20 to 30 minutes to render for like a gaming video. And what I'll do is if I see dishes that have to be done, I'm not going to do them. I'm going to edit my video, wait for it to finish, then render it, then I'll go wash them. And that's what's a little sad is I get this whole thing where it's just like I edit this whole video, I spend a lot of time on it. And typically you like taking a break, right? But then I'm like, oh, I can't take a break during the rendering, else won't be able to get the dishes done. Let me go wash the dishes. Then you come back, all the dishes are done. And it's like, oh, maybe I'll do this, then I'll do that. Because it feels like this, you know, you feel like this really good thing where it's like, oh, I'm saving so much time by doing all this work while the video is running. But then I come back and I'm like, oh no, the video already rendered. I can't take a break. I have to start editing the next one. It's the whole thing. It's like different tasks are dedicated to certain times where it's like, oh man, I should take out the trash, but I need to finish editing this video first, then I can take out the trash, because it feels like I'm saving time that way. It's a whole thing.
You're like layering certain tasks on each other. I kind of get that.
Because I'm trying to like keep up my time management, but of course there's only so much time in the day. And like a normal person, when they have their job, they go to their job, they come back, they can take a break, they can do their chores at any time, because it's not like they feel like they're wasting time by not, you know, getting their editing done. It's just a little different, I guess. YouTube, I would describe as it's like not an actively difficult job where you need to be like super mentally intelligent, but there is a form of like creative intelligence and like awareness of the platform and what you're making to like fit into the content sphere, I guess. That didn't really make any sense, but
I kind of get the feeling of what you're trying to say, yeah. Where it's like the it's like I think YouTubers can be very hard on themselves. I know that when I was like trying to create content for YouTube and also for my friends, I had a lot of pressure on myself to do, be able to do those things on time. And
right, it's like a perfectionist sort of thing.
I kind of felt like I was, paying off a debt more than I was like paying something forward and like making an investment. Because
just like making something that you really want to make.
Right. It was like one of those things where at some point, like, I did lose passion for it because, and it was like one of those things where I had to grow back into it because it was like, at the time it was like I put a lot of pressure on myself to do well, and then I realized that a lot of that pressure came from, like the environment that I was growing up in, some of the instructors that I was around. It's one of those things where in this world, at least in this era, so to say, I think the ability to modulate your own time as well as to protect your own mind against like outside pressure is incredibly hard. I think it's like when I was young, when I was a lot younger, like maybe 10 years old, I was like, yeah, the shonen protagonist anime mindset, which is like nature versus nurture. It's nurture all the way. It's like, right? It's like nurture all the way, baby. Like I can nurture my way through almost anything. Like if I work hard enough and I play hard enough, like I can basically bulwark my way through any challenge. But nowadays, I also realize that whether or not that I like it, it's like the nature also plays like a big part in how much I can nurture, right? It's like if I have access to more editing equipment, to higher quality like video shooting software and video shooting cameras, then the quality of my content will inherently be better, as well as the things, my own happiness and the stuff in my life. And so
right.
Nowadays, it's like I don't doubt my nurture abilities because I've worked so hard for like 5 years in terms of like YouTube and life. I doubt my nature capabilities, where it's like, am I in the right environment to be able to put everything into perspective and like be able to use them and nurture? And some of that is because I personally create the environment for myself. It's like the pressures that I put on myself or the stubbornness that I put on myself. And it's like part of that was a really, really hard lesson to learn, but it's just like I can't do everything, or at least I can't do everything and be happy. I have to do some things really well, and I can also be happy at the same time, kind of thing. Where it's like I have to prioritize. Otherwise, if I try to do everything at once, I kind of fail in a sense. And it's like that kind of like the burnout thing that you were talking about with the video game challenges. It's like at some point it's too crazy, right?
Yeah, there's a peak, and it becomes really, really difficult to come up with like new creative ideas.
Your investment on returns, like, it's slower and lower and lower. Like, it's eventually it will plateau, right? Like, you'll do the Nuzlocke video, like, it'll go up, and then maybe you'll do the second one, and it'll go up again. But then, like, at some point, you're like, all right, Nuzlocke videos, no Great Balls, no Ultra Balls, no Master Balls, no items, no Fairy types, no Dragon types, no Poison types, Steel types, Fire types.
No Nuzlocke. Here's the rules: no Pokemon.
No Pokemon. I'm just gonna beat the Nuzlocke without Pokemon. It's like, yeah, of course that's gonna be it's like sensational. Of course I'm gonna want to watch that, but it's like, also, do I want to watch myself do that to myself? Like, it's like, there's a point where it's like the investment on returns is like no longer worthy of my attention, kind of thing.
Of course. And that, I think, where people tend to trap themselves or pigeonhole themselves, which I feel like I am sort of in right now, is out of obligation. When you create an audience, they were there for you for that thing, And if you try to move on or adapt, it's going to be really difficult. Adapting is, I think, the most difficult thing on the platform. For example, right now, I am in a transitional period for my second channel. For those who don't know, my second channel got decently popular when I talked about Amphibia and the Owl House.
Which are great shows, by the way. Which are great shows. I do want to put that out there. They're actually pretty incredible for kids' content in this day and age.
They're so good. Yeah. Not just for kids, it's all ages to enjoy it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But literally, like that channel grew from the popularity of those two shows. But now that those two shows have ended, people are like, obviously, they're each going out into their own separate things. So my audience is going to shrink and shrink the less and less relevant these shows become. And when I try to transition to something else, it's going to be very difficult. I want to make less and less videos on Owl House and Amphibia, despite the fact that I still love the shows. I still want to make videos on these shows. However, there feels like this weird obligation that I have to keep making videos on these shows because that's what my channel was made on.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh man, I gotta keep making more Owl House content because that's what I grew my channel on. But if I keep making that same type of content, I won't be able to adapt. And I'll lose, all that relevance, I guess you could say, or just like all of that potential growth.
Yeah. It's one of those weird things with YouTube because it's like when you change topics and like when you change what your channel is based off of, it's like that almost always like it's like in the past, it's like it will like nuke a portion of your audience that is there for that specific thing. There's also a portion of people that will keep with your format and keep with your person because they like you as your person.
Right.
But for the most part, like people go on the platform to look up like specific topics and themes.
Yeah.
I will say there was one famous example of a person who transitioned industries from YouTube to music creation. I'm not sure if you've heard of the YouTuber named Filthy Frank. But
I have, yes.
He went on to become a very famous...
Joji, correct?
Yeah, Joji, yeah. He became a really famous music guy because that was his passion. And he didn't want to be Filthy Frank anymore because that was ruining his mental health. He was like under a lot of pressure to act in a certain way. When he kind of jumped the gun, I think maybe it was like it was like before 2020 for sure.
He was one of the big guys in 2016, right? I think I remember like watching a couple of his videos, but I never watched too many of them.
He made it. And that's like one of those things where it's like he was able to jump platforms because his music was able to fit a certain niche that wasn't being fit, which was like, very kind of like depressing in your feels kind of music. I haven't listened to a lot of it, but I've heard that's like that's kind of the feeling that he's able to elicit, which is this kind of feeling of like dissociation with life. This might be going off the topic a lot for sure.
No worries. The whole point of podcast is to have these tangents.
It's like life nowadays does kind of feel a little bit off, so to say.
I think it's definitely just because of how I don't know how to describe it correctly, but like the age of like information and the internet has like changed the landscape and like the way social constructs and interactions work so well. I think people I believe I remember reading this thing about like a third place. I think it was like a social psychology thing where you have like three places, right? You have your home, you have your workplace, and then you have your third place, which would be like in the good old days before the internet when people went outside, it would be like, you go to your local restaurant and you know everybody there, or like you know everybody in your local town. Yeah. And like you all get together at this third place where you don't have to talk about home or work. You can talk about your interest, or you can talk about work at home, but like in a more like less I don't know, maybe at home you're more reserved, maybe at work you're not very expressive, or you want to complain about work but you got to remain professional. At this third place you can just kind of relax and get socialized with these people. But social media has kind of replaced that for us, but like nothing beats a physical one-to-one interaction.
Yeah, or like a phone call, or like a podcast. I'm looking at you guys. But here's the thing, it's like there is nothing in this life, at least for human beings, because human beings are inherently, we're built to be social creatures. There's nothing in this life that is going to beat, being in person with a friend, or playing video games with them online, or being able to talk to them like face to face, or just talk to them in a Discord call. But the thing is that like the information age has completely like turned this on its head, and it's like it's mutated those kind of relationships in a weird kind and
I don't think it's all bad.
It's not all bad for sure, because YouTube was created. Yeah, YouTube was created because of this interaction, but also it's like, we were like social creatures for like what looked like to be a millennia, and like only in the last like 20 years have we gotten this huge shift into like texting instead of calling, and then social media posts instead of meeting people in that third place, like in the third place that you were talking about. And so it's like, yeah, we definitely need to be a lot more careful and maybe a lot more cognizant toward people who are struggling to adapt, which is like, if you honestly, and there's like this thing that's like called texting etiquette now, is like also that's also really hard for like our brains to understand, which is just like,
where you can't read what people are like feeling at that moment. That's why there's like
or parasocial relationships
that people do.
Yeah, or parasocial relationships with content creators, which is just like, again, that's an incredibly hard thing to do because your brain is hardwired in a certain way, and so it's like, I definitely don't blame like people for struggling in this age, and it's also like that's this kind of like the feeling of disassociation that I was talking about earlier, which is just like, it kind of feels like we're here, but also not really here, and also the COVID pandemic was a huge thing. There's just a lot of stuff. Just a lot of stuff that has been dumped on our generation.
It's like a lot of information overload, one could say.
Yes, that's true.
But going back to kind of like what you were saying, with like YouTube and groups and whatnot, something that I've always wanted, and I know that we thought about doing something like this like in the past.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Is I've always wanted a group YouTube channel. Now, before I even started, I actually was planning to be a group YouTube channel with one of my best friends, and he pulled out because obviously we went our separate ways. He went to college far away, and then we'd have to do the entire YouTube channel like long distance, and eventually I realized that I was the only one making an effort. I was like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing this? This is your part of the job.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized like he wasn't doing it because he was focused on, going to college, doing his degree and whatnot. And he was like, listen, man, I didn't want to say this, but I just can't do it. I can't do it. And I think like that really kind of hurt me, because ever since I was 9 years old, I knew that I wanted to make videos on YouTube. 9 years old. I made videos back when I was 9 years old, and all the way up until today, I've made videos. Now, most of them will never see the light of day because they're awful. But man, it's just like what I wanted so long was like a group channel, like a group of friends, like make content with on like a group channel. And I see people like other creators where you'll see like for example, there is this channel called Party Crashers, where it's like these Smash YouTubers / Nintendo-ish YouTubers, and like the four of them came together to like create this channel. And there's like been lots of those throughout the years. That's like one recent one I can think of because they just kind of made that channel a few months ago. But something that I always wanted to do was to like be a member of like one of those group channels, and I just thought something like that would be so cool, because like, I don't know, it's like you all sort of trade viewerships with each other and then have this one big collaborative channel where you all come together. I think something like that would just be like, if I were to ever have a channel like that, I would be like, okay, now I know I'm a YouTuber, because right now I kind of feel like I'm impersonating a YouTuber. I don't even feel like a YouTuber, weirdly enough, even though I've been doing this for 4 years. I don't feel like I'm in that space of a YouTuber yet. But if I were to have one of those group channels, I feel like I would just be like, yeah, this is it. I have friends. We're doing content together. We all have the same interests or like similar interests that line up. It's awesome. It is awesome.
I think it's like one of those things where it's like, it's like, sorry for interrupting you there, but it's like, I think it's one of those things where it's like, well, first off, the imposter syndrome thing is like an incredible, it's like a huge thing with our generation, because with the information age, it's like you finally have like a thing to, you're putting your perspective up against the entire rest of the world, where it's like, now we know like how good you can truly be in like certain circumstances and around the world. And so it's like, it's very hard to just be me kind of thing. Right. But the other thing is like, it's like, I think, maybe you're too hard on yourself. It's like, you definitely are a YouTuber for sure. Like you made really good content, and you've been, practicing and doing this for longer than a lot of people have. And that experience will eventually come to use one day. It was like one of those things where it was like, I used to edit a lot of the old podcasts that we did. And when I did that, I got a lot of experience in terms of being able to know what voice, like how to edit voice, how to edit audio is the big one. And so when I went over to video creation, I knew exactly like, oh yeah, the audio needs to sound like this, it needs to be like this much in this area. It was like one of those things where it's like, I was able to synthesize these two talents that I had, which was a passion for putting certain scenes into video, and then the grueling work of having to listen to like an hour of podcast. Like every single podcast is like an hour. And by the way,
doing that this evening.
I don't envy your job, by the way. But it's like you really get to learn the intricacies of the voice of someone, and also like, the more that I've listened to D&D podcasts and watched D&D long form content, it's like the more that I'm like, getting to be okay and less stubborn about myself, where it's like, yeah, I can sit down and listen to this audio again while playing video games. And while I'm, playing video games and listening to the audio, the joke will come up and I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that. That was really funny. And it's like, those were, it's like trying not to be too hard on myself kind of thing, which is something I'm working on. It's like,
right.
It's a lot of fun. And I'm going to look back on it one day and think like, yeah, I enjoyed doing that. And that was a really good like thing, because now I know how to do this other thing, which is cool.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good place to call it. We've been talking for around an hour. That was good. See, sure. I always like talking to you because you always like, we have sort of like similar perspectives, but like you feel more like, whereas I feel like, I don't know how to describe it. You always feel like a wise monk, where I feel like I'm like your apprentice, where I'm like halfway up the stairs carrying a boulder or something, and I'm like, Master, please, what's the rest of the riddle? And you're like, you must Master, make it the whole way.
You must look at the whole thing. You got to use Adobe Premiere Pro. Holy, no. But I will say the only reason that I know any of this is because I struggled a lot with it. I had to, it was one of those things where like the amount of pressure I put on myself, as well as it was also realizing that there are a lot of people in my life that were like in specifically like, certain bosses or instructors that in my life were like, it really stressing me out with their kind of style of like management, where it's just like, I need you to do this, and
their expectations wear you down.
Their expectations were super high, and then you're like, that's not realistic for anyone to do, and you're asking me to do this in like a very short amount of time. Like, I'm gonna have to like, I don't know, I'm gonna have to like pull time out of an extra dimensional box in order to be able to do this. And then maybe I'll be able to sleep like 1 hour. Like,
I was like, and they wonder why we get no sleep.
Yeah, and then I won't be able to play Pokemon Sleep. That's the whole podcast right there. Download Pokemon Sleep when it comes out. That's right. It came back. We came back
totally
full circle.
Sponsored. Yep, totally.
We came back full circle, Smith. But no, in all honesty, I think the experience will come, and when you gain enough experience, you level up. And I just turned gaming into a gaming metaphor, but it's like you can have the best stats in the world, but the best thing in the world that can give you like the stats and like the build that you need is experience, honestly, and that just comes with time. So definitely go out there and get experience. Don't try to push yourself too hard, kind of thing, and download Pokemon Sleep, and if it's bad, then we'll be here to talk about it or something.
Without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a good way to end it, with those wise words of gaming metaphors.
Yeah.
But yeah, once again, big thanks to the little rookie for coming on. It is always a joy to talk to you. And that's been the first episode of what was I gonna call this podcast? I already forgot.
Zeez,
Catching Zeez? Catching Zeez. That's right. I don't know if that name will stick, but
it is so. I just want to put that out there. It's so weird to be in the not the host seat. not guiding the conversation.
Yeah.
It's so
Because I
weird
was
to
always in
be-
the passenger seat when we used to
Right.
film these.
It's like, now you're
that's the other way
driving, and
around.
I'm like, oh god, where are we driving? You're taking me to McDonald's. I like, okay, I guess I'll get a Big Mac. I'll get the kids' meal so I can get the Toad. I did actually. This is so bad. This is so bad of podcast etiquette of me, because I'm just continuing a diatribe. I got a kids' meal with the little Toad on the Mario Kart.
From the Mario movie?
Yeah, for the Mario movie. And
Can
I
you
was
take
just
a
like,
picture and send it to me? I'll literally put that as the outro.
I was like, oh yeah. I was like, I got the Toad. Nice. And so yeah, sorry. I'm breaking podcast edit. We gotta.
Yeah, no worries. All right, well, everybody, thanks for listening. I hope you have a great rest of your day. We're gonna see if we can make this a weekly thing. I have another one of my friends coming on for the next podcast, and then the next one lined up. And then we'll see if we can maybe get some fellow creators on here. I want to kind of mix things up, but we're definitely going to have the little rookie come back for sure, without a doubt, one day, because it is always a joy to talk to him. So yeah, thanks for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Anything else to say, little rookie?
I'm going to go catch some Zeez by catching some Pokemon. I'm so sorry. I'm going to end this.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, we'll end it there. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.
See ya.